Yes,
he has won every single primary contest that he entered. He is shown to be a heavy favorite in every poll conducted among Republican voters and independent voters. I have no doubt that he would lose some Democratic elections if the vote were limited to waspish Democrats who like to live out their life in Rome. Undoubtedly fair, but why does he say no discernible political interest? Except presumably because he likes to be naughty, which has proved to be a professionally highly merchandisable vice.
Not unlike your so public license of equal wickedness, Bill.
No, I have no public license.
Now you say that for no discernible reason is he's running. Well, I'll tell you why I'm dissatisfied with him, and I think most of the country should be somewhat alarmed. He has no position on Vietnam at all. This is a major issue in the United States. It's a major moral issue. It's a major economic issue. What does Nixon say on this? Well, he wants to have a summit with the Russians. A hard-hitting summit meeting, he says. This is incidentally the candidate the Russians most detest. This may be very helpful, the fact they hate him, to a few Wallaceites, but it's not going to do him much good at a conference. He issued an economic statement. What did he come out for? Higher interest rates. And then for the ghettos, what does he have to say about what is in effect a civil war in the United States? Well, he'll give tax deductions to businesses that want to go and work in the ghetto, and he'll install a computer to tell them where the jobs are. Now, I don't call that much that's discernible to the naked eye, except somebody playing it very safe to get elected.
Mr. Vidal, your description of the naked eye hardly fits that of somebody who is moderately well informed. I have no doubt that there is somebody in Haight-Ashbury or Greenwich Village who considers that your caricature is fetching. Oh, I don't. Mr. Nixon has elaborated at some length his position on Vietnam. He is committed to the rightness of that endeavor in Vietnam. He does believe that the United States government, as a result of a schizophrenia which is bound in Lyndon Johnson, has not vigorously prosecuted what is in fact a war which he relates to our own best interests. For you to suggest in the process of attempting to accelerate democratic achievements that all he has done is speak in such verbs is hardly to do him or you a service.
I'm so happy to see your elegant prose style at its very best tonight, Bill. It's very inspiring to those of us listening to it.
I think you've been
I wonder really if Nixon is going to prosecute this war seriously. One would like to know what he's going to do. He's ruled out atomic weapons already. He's pretty much ruled out an invasion of the North. He does want in some way to cool it, but he won't tell us. Now, I think he ought to. I would also be interested to know, would he be interested in your project, since you are a great friend of his and professional entertainer of the far right? Does he favor your plan for bombing China, the nuclear capacity of the Chinese, in a very moving piece called A Blow for Peace in that magazine I will not mention, on the 29th of December 1964.
We know that you like nothing to sully your lips.
No, you came out, you will eat it first. You came out in favor of history apes for such an act of greatness. That is the bombing of the Chinese nuclear capacity.
That's right.
In 1965, you came out with the same thing.
You want to talk about my
go back to the
background?
Republican Party and its policies. Some people have said, some administration Democrats have said, they could accept that Vietnam plank in the Republican platform.
They could accept which plank?
The Vietnam plank in the Republican platform.
Yes, it is an ambiguous plank, and there is no question, but that the war in Vietnam, having been so badly fought, not as a result of any failure in our military, but as a result of a failure in our policy, has led to a great confusion. The war in Vietnam is not justifiable, in the opinion of Mr. Nixon, unless it in fact represents a salient which is armed by the communist world, however loosely spoken of, which is directed against our best interests. It was because Mr. Kennedy and subsequently Mr. Johnson believed that it was, in which point of view every single one of the people who are professionally charged with evaluating America's interests concurred that it was, that we went to war there, but we failed to win it. And the failure to win it has caused a number of developments, not least of which is the domestic turmoil from which Mr. Vidal and his party seek to profiteer.
Mr. Vidal, what would you consider a satisfactory plank, briefly and generally, on Vietnam?
Well, you're not going to get a satisfactory plank. Certainly not out of the Republican Party. One did not get it, nor will you probably out of the Democrats. Everybody's slightly afraid of the Dove-Hawk labels, and I think the platform of the Republicans is one, as they keep pointing out, anybody can run on it, a hawk or a dove. I think a satisfactory one would be an admission that the American empire has certain very plain limits, that it was an immoral act, our going in there to begin with by not holding the elections, which the Geneva Accords of 1954 guaranteed. We then came a cropper, and we have everybody to thank for it. We have Eisenhower to begin with, mildly, Kennedy a bit more so, and Johnson the super hawk. I'm not at all convinced that Barry Goldwater, had he been elected president, wouldn't have been just as much of an activist. But these empires are very dangerous things to possess, as Pericles once pointed out. And once you get one, it's very difficult to let it go. But if we don't let it go, it's going to wreck us economically. We're already in trouble. And it has certainly divided the country at a time when resources should go to the slums and to the poor and to trying to revise an extremely shabby country.
Well, the country is not quite so shabby as Mr. Vidal believes.
It will be shabbier after the Republicans get in.
The figure 30 million poor is, of course, a figure completely at the mercy of largely arbitrary statistics as to what constitutes poverty. Let me just put it this way, that if the same figures nowadays used in constant dollars to produce 30 million American poor people had been used in 1929, then 65% of the American people would have been judged poor by those standards. The point is, of course, the Republican Party is aware that there is not nowadays an American imperialist movement. No doubt there are those who believe that we want to be in Vietnam because the Chase National Bank struggles to establish a branch there. This is the hobgoblinization of the Marxists.
You have just about,
I think,
one concluding sentence apiece. Can you give us one?
I will.
Mr. Vidal?
I would say that Mr. Buckley has always misstated the case on poverty, as he has on much else. That there are over 30 million people living at the poverty line, and the Republican Party, according to its platform, which I've read very carefully, is going to benefit the insurance agencies, the private interests in great detail, and nothing at all
Mr. Buckley.
people.
Well, I think that it is something for which all of us have to be grateful, that there are left in America people who believe in the democratic process sufficiently to know that occasionally people can penetrate such myths as have been energetically projected by Mr. Vidal, and that they choose not to avail themselves of the alternative that Mr. Vidal offers them up, which would be not only a philosophy and an economy of stagnation, but also a spiritual world of stagnation.
Well, thank you very much indeed, gentlemen. While William Buckley and Gore Vidal have been taking a second look at this Republican convention, at least a part of it, and its decisions, the evening session of the